In this lesson, we're going to be importing and organizing in After Effects. Okay, so I've just opened up 05_begin in your After Effects project files folder, which is just a blank project. So I've cleared my preferences. Everything is set to 0 basically. So with that in mind, the thing I want to do next before we start importing is to create a composition that's going to be at the frame rate that we want to animate our letters at. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because once your first composition has been created, the rest of the compositions that you import will be brought in at that same frame rate. If you're bringing them in from Illustrator where there isn't a frame rate, it's just going to grab the frame rate that you placed earlier in the composition that you first create. So we'll go to Composition, New Composition, and you can see these are all the default settings, and I'm just going to name this Main Composition, which we can use later on. And I'm going to change the size to 1280 by 720, and I'm going to change the frame rate to 24 frames per second. That's the important part. We want that frame rate to be 24 frames per second, so everything else we bring in, we don't have to go in and change from 29.97 to 24, which would take a while because we're bringing in over 30 comps. So we'll go ahead and say OK, and now we're ready to import. So you'll just want to double click over here in your project panel. And I'm just located right here inside of your project files. We'll go into your reference files folder. And I'm going to shift select every single one of those Illustrator layers that we created. So there we go. And you can see I went back and renamed all of them to have all the letters. And it's organized alphabetically, so we've got those little words that are defining things kind of sprinkled throughout there, but that isn't going to matter. In a moment, we're going to get all organized in After Effects. Now, before you click Import, we want to change our Import As feature here from Footage to Composition Retain Layer Sizes. Now, what's the difference between Retain Layer Sizes and Composition? Well, what this is going to do is it's going to bring in each of those files with the artboard as the composition size. So because of that, it's got other layers inside of those compositions. So let's say all the little pieces that make up the letter M, for instance. Those, if we just chose composition, would have bounding boxes the size of that M artboard. If we choose retain layer sizes, then it's going to have them just be only the size they need to be to encompass that little piece. So it's much easier to move around when you choose retain layer sizes. So that's perfect. We'll go ahead and click Import. Now this takes a while because it's importing a ton of files. So I'm going to pause the video while this finishes importing, and we'll come back and start the next part of our course. Okay, so our import has finished up, and now what I want to do is go through and basically just make folders for all of the different categories of things that we have and place them accordingly. So you want to click kind of over here off to the side to make sure you don't have anything selected at all. You don't want to have one thing selected. So I'll just come up here to the top, and there we go. Okay, so you'll want to create a new folder just by clicking there. And you can see this folder isn't under any kind of subfolder or anything like that. And then we'll want to name this composition, or we'll call it letters compositions. And then I'm going to go through and select each one of the comps that contains a letter. So you can see all of these right through here. We'll give it a second to catch up with us. It's having a little trouble there. It just takes a while since there's so much contained in all of these. So we'll select all of those, drag them into letters compositions. Now I'm skipping that one that says main composition because that one isn't really a letters composition. Okay. And just continue dragging those in. Now I'm going to create another folder, and this one we're going to call letters layers. So When I say letters layers, that is basically everything contained in these folders are the layers that it takes to make up those letters. However, because of the way that After Effects works with Illustrator, they're actually containing a copy of the whole layers panel from Illustrator in every single one of those folders. So later we're going to need to reduce our project, but for now we'll just go ahead and get them organized. So anything that says a letter and then layers after it, we'll want to drag into the letters layers folder. Okay, now we've got some more letter comps. So we'll go ahead and drag those into the composition. And it takes a while because there's so many here. So it'll just take you a little bit of time to get them all into place, but it's well worth it to have your layers panel organized because of what we're going to do in the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting those in, pause the video, and we're going to come back in just a second and I'll show you another step of the process. Okay, so I finished that step up, but you can see we still have more things we need to organize. So we've got our pieces that are those small pieces that are going to be replacing things. So we'll make a folder for the pieces comps and a folder for the pieces layers, just like we did for the letters. Okay, and we've got many fewer of those to deal with, so those will be quick. Pieces comps. That'll go into pieces comps, and then this, and this are all pieces layers, and one more pieces comps. Okay, so you can see quite a few things there, and it looks like I accidentally grabbed my main composition and placed that in a folder. So I'll pull that out and I'll create one more folder that we can call other compositions. Okay, so pretty basic, not a lot that we're really trying to actually do here besides getting organized. We're not getting into really anything with the animations, anything like that at this point. Now, the last thing we need to do to really save us some time and speed things up is to reduce our project. However, let's go ahead and take a look at one of these letter compositions. So I'll just open up A, and you can see that it doesn't just contain the layers for A. It contains pretty much everything. But because we put the A in front of the name, we can just simply go into the letter and shift select everything that isn't the letter A and delete it. Then we've only got the letter A layers left. So we need to do that for all of these letter comps. And I'm going to do that in between lessons. We're going to come back in the next lesson and I'll show you the last step we need to do before we move into creating our animation.